This clip was shot at 4K, 120 frames per second, 4 times slower than real life. And if you're still on a GH5 like this one, well, you can't get that type of shot, not even close. Well, at least at 4K that is. I've been using the GH5 for close to a year now, and I really wanted to like it, as it's a legendary camera within the videography world. The bottom line is though that when I went out in the field, I kept missing shots I should have had and deleting clips I would have loved to use. And I had to be honest with myself as to why. And one thing's for sure, I'll always share with you my honest opinion. This video is the breakdown I wish I had before I bought the GH5. I'm going to cover 3 specific things that the GH5 failed me on, and exactly why the G9 II fixes all of them. And stick around because later in this video, I'm going to show you a feature on the G9 II that a lot of reviewers completely overlook, and for wildlife shooters, it might be the most useful thing this camera does. Now, let's get into it. Quick bit of context so you know where I'm coming from. I shoot primarily wildlife, birds, mammals whenever I get the chance, but usually fast moving stuff outdoors. And with this, well, I need usable slow motion footage for my videos here on YouTube and on social media. I'm not a studio filmmaker or anything, but I just really need a camera that can keep up with an animal that doesn't care about me at all. Now, I've been shooting on the GH5 as a second camera to my OM1 by OM system for a while now. And look, it's a legendary camera. When it came out, it was genuinely great, but since then, shooting a wildlife video on it kind of starts to feel like a real compromise. But let me break down exactly why. The GH5 uses a contrast detection autofocus system, which Panasonic called the DFD, or depth from defocus. Really all that is that the system finds where the focus is, defocuses and assesses the changes in sharpness and readjusts. Now for still photography, and in most cases, this actually does work very well. But for video, especially wildlife video, it genuinely gets kind of frustrating at times. If you've shot on the GH5, well, you know that pulsing, that back and forth hunting motion where the camera is trying to figure out where the subject is. It's pretty distracting, and to be honest, it really ruins footage. Plus, it gets dramatically worse in anything less than ideal lighting. And forget about the tracking of a bird in flight or an animal running through varied backgrounds. The contrast-based system just doesn't have the speed or the intelligence to keep up compared to more modern phase detect autofocus systems. For wildlife, that's not just a minor inconvenience, and this is something that the G9 II fixes with a hybrid phase detect autofocus, but I'll cover that a little later in this video. The second thing that pushed me kind of over the edge to get this new camera is slow motion. Slow motion is one of the most powerful tools in wildlife filmmaking. A heron catching a fish, a hawk folding its wings into a dive, water droplets cascading off of a duck. All of that stuff only looks as magical as it does because of high frame rates slow motion. I'd love to put an overlay of that footage right here, but unfortunately I don't have much of it since I've not owned a camera capable of doing this at 4K until I've upgraded to this G9 II that I'm filming with right now. The GH5 can do 4K at up to 60 frames per second and can reach up to 120 frames per second in the variable frame rate mode, but only at 1080p. That sounds fine on paper, but here's the thing, 60 frames per second in 4K gives you maybe 2 to 2.5 times slow motion at 30 to 24p. That's not too dramatic, but if you want proper noticeable slow motion, the kind that really makes your jaw drop, you want 4 times slow motion that you can get with the 120 frames per second slowed down to 30 or even less. The GH5 simply can't do 4K at 120 frames per second. There's really nothing you can do about it. The G9 II does that at full sensor width, 10-bit color, integrated vlog. That really changes everything for wildlife. And that's the footage that really makes a difference, that makes people stop in their tracks and stop scrolling. Now, granted, the G9 II is not the only camera that does 4K 120 FPS, and not even just within the Micro Four Thirds ecosystem either. But if you want a more detailed video as to why I chose the G9 II, let me know and I can do a video where I go a bit more depth than what I'm going to share with you here in a second. The third issue, and this one's a little less exciting to talk about, but it matters a lot, the sensor. The GH5 has a 20 megapixel sensor. When it launched in 2017, that was pretty solid, but it's now an aging sensor. The G9 II brings a new 25 megapixel sensor, which gives you more room to crop in post. For wildlife, that matters so much. You can't always get close to your subject by fear of making them run or fly away, or just genuinely for your own safety. So being able to zoom in and crop while still keeping lots of details in the image is genuinely useful. That's 5 extra megapixels of cropping headroom, and it shows. And what about dynamic range? Well, Panasonic will tell you 13 plus stops, but I'd rather give you numbers that I found from an independent measurement that I found from photons to photos that put the G9 II at around 10.54 stops at base ISO versus roughly 9.55 for the GH5. That's about 1 full stop of real-world improvement, and the gap does close genuinely quickly. But here's what makes it meaningful in practice though. That gap does widen back up as you push your ISO at higher values. Between ISO 3200 and 6400, the kind of setting you're actually using at dawn and dusk to shoot wildlife, the G9 II reaches back up to more dynamic range than the GH5. So you get more shadow recovery, better highlight retention, more latitude to correct in post. Listen, it's not a huge difference, it's 1 stop, but as a photographer, we know we'll take whatever micro improvements we can get. Now, I'm about to get into everything the G9 II delivers, but before I do so, I want to remind you, stay with me through the end of this video, because I'm going to show you one specific feature that really can make a massive difference in your wildlife photography, that both of these cameras have, but the G9 II really does improve on. So let's start with the autofocus. That's finally fixed. This is one that genuinely made me laugh when I filmed some birds flying because it was such an improvement. The G9 II is the first camera in Panasonic's entire G series line to feature phase detection autofocus. That's something that Sony and Canon shooters have had for years now. The G9 II actually utilizes a hybrid between phase detect and contrast, which I guess gives you the best of both worlds. Phase detect seems to be the most reliable of the two, especially for fast-moving subjects and low light as we see in wildlife, but some mention that the contrast detection autofocus is actually better for fine-tuned, precise autofocus of still subjects. Now, all of that is to say that the hunting and pulsing in videos, well, that's gone. Subject recognition now covers humans, animals, which does include birds, although birds are not a dedicated setting like on OM system cameras, and a couple of vehicle options. In these modes, the autofocus will lock onto your subject, and it's going to track it and hold on to that subject. You can even choose if you want to focus on the eyes or the body of an animal, which is pretty cool. I always go for the eyes though. Even in flight, I have some footage that I would have never been able to get on the GH5. Like this here, logging in on this bird mid-flight, but also at landing. The camera just handles it now so I can think about composition instead of fighting the focus system or trying manual focus. As I mentioned, this is the headline feature for me personally, 4K 120 frames per second. You shoot a bird landing on water, you slow that down at 4 to 5 times, and you've got something truly cinematic, however boring it might look at full speed. Plus, you're not making compromises with 1080p or a tight sensor crop. And I say this because some cameras will crop the image a little bit to get that 120 frames per second. So you get the full frame, full resolution, and full beautiful slow motion. Then there's image stabilization. The in-body image stabilization, or IBIS, on the G9 II is absolutely exceptional. You get up to 8 stops of compensation with the body alone, and 7.5 stops with the dual IS combining lens and body stabilization. So I guess just go for the 8 stops body image stabilization in some situations. For handheld telephoto work in the field, well, this is really a difference maker, and it's a difference between usable and unusable footage. Okay, this is what I promised you at the start. The feature that a lot of reviewers either miss entirely or mention in passing without explaining why it matters. It's called pre-burst mode. Some manufacturers have different names for it, like OM System calling it pre-capture if you've seen my other videos. And on paper it sounds quite simple, but in practice for wildlife shooting, it's one of the most useful things this camera does. And here's how it works. When you half press a shutter and hold it, the G9 II starts silently buffering images in the background, up to 1.5 seconds worth of it, at up to 75 frames per second. But you're not recording yet. The camera is just quietly saving everything it sees. Then when something happens, a bird flies off of a branch, well, you can click your shutter button and the camera will hand you 1.5 seconds of full resolution images from before you even clicked on that shutter button, plus whatever images you took afterwards. I hear you, the GH5 does have this feature as well, with the 4K and 6K images options, but one, you have no flexibility in choosing how many images are taken pre-shutter. It's fixed to 1 second of pre-burst, but the most important part is that it compresses the images. So at 6K with a max of 30 FPS, you're looking at 18 megapixels from a standard 20 megapixel picture, which, all right. And at 4K, you have a max 60 FPS, which is pretty comparable to the G9 II, but you get a massive compression landing you at 8 megapixels per photo. With the G9 II, you get none of that compression. Plus, you can get up to 75 frames per second if you want to use single autofocus. If you want to use your continuous autofocus like I do, you still get 60 frames per second. Now, I've used this on birds a lot for shots that would be pure luck, but now it's actually intentional and repeatable. Plus, I don't need to compromise on image quality. I feel like a lot of camera reviewers don't talk about this feature a lot. It actually took me some time to even find it out on my own on my OM1, and I genuinely don't know why this doesn't get more attention in reviews. Maybe a lot of the reviewers don't use this feature too much, but it's a must for wildlife photographers in my humble opinion. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. There is one thing that I really want to mention about the G9 II. When recording, especially at demanding settings like Apple ProRes or at 4K 120 FPS, the G9 II can overheat when it does continuous recording, since there's no internal heat management system like we see on, say, the GH7. In practice, because wildlife doesn't give you much time to film it, that really hasn't been an issue for me. That said, I have been shooting in really cold Canadian weather, so maybe that has an effect on it. But if you're planning long sessions outside in the sun where demanding settings are used to do video and running non-stop, it's worth knowing that your camera can certainly overheat. So that's my verdict. The GH5 is a camera I genuinely have respect for. It was a great camera when it launched, and it still holds its weight if you ask me. But for me personally, it didn't match what I needed for my wildlife videos. There's no phase detection autofocus, there's no 4K 120 FPS, and it's an older sensor. Those are real, practical limitations that affect the footage. The G9 II solves all three of these, plus it gives me better pre-burst mode, 100 megapixel stills, class-leading IBIS, and ProRes on top of it. And for what I do, it wasn't a difficult decision in the end. If you've made the same or a similar switch, or you're still trying to decide whether you want to switch or not, drop a comment down below. I really try to read every single one of your comments. And if you want to see a dedicated video of something specific with either one of these cameras, let me know and that could be a next video. Do act quick though, because I'm trying to sell this GH5 soon enough. Like if this was useful or interesting to you, and subscribe if you want to see some more honest gear takes. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.